Well, good day, viewers. Today we have an '06 Toyota Sienna van, and it's here today for a catastrophic loss of transmission fluid. They were bringing another vehicle to me, and this one didn't make it here, so we ended up towing it a couple of kilometers, and you can see there's a puddle of tranny fluid. I put 4 liters in it, started it up, and you're going to see where it's leaking here. The cooler is busted. At first I thought it was this hose up here. Now the question is, did they run it out of transmission fluid long enough to damage the tranny? I'd hate like hell to put a new rad in this thing or a cooler on it and then find out that it needs a transmission. So we're going to bypass the cooler by disconnecting these 2 pipes and fill the tranny up and then evaluate how it works and then see if it's worth fixing. So it lost coolant out of that connection as well. So I filled the cooling system up and left the rad cap, pressure cap loose so it doesn't build pressure. I need to take it for a road test. It's going into gear, but we need to see if it shifts through all the gears okay. I put at least 6 liters of transmission fluid in it, so it was basically empty. So let's see if this thing shifts. Can't drive it too far because it's leaking coolant. Well, there's second gear. Sometimes when you have a catastrophic loss of transmission fluid like that, it leaks out so fast that it doesn't have a time to start slipping. It just goes from driving to no pressure and no movement. Judging by the oil slick, it's not, it burst. And it seems to be shifting okay. Yeah, it seems fine. I got some bumps in the road here. Some frost heaves. Another one coming up here in a sec. Let's try passing gear. Well, it seems to be shifting fine, going through all gears. So we'll drive it for a little bit. Well, it seems to shift just fine. Passing gear works, overdrive works, torque converter lockup works. So we're gonna price out a radiator. I was gonna just put an external cooler, but the rad's leaking too, so the only way to fix this is to replace the rad assembly. So we got a new radiator to put in this Toyota Sienna van. Just looking at it, comparing it. This is what failed on the other rad. This popped right out. Looks complete. This is a Koyo rad. Bought it from a local supplier. Had to come out of the States. Here's the part number if you're interested. Okay, well, I don't want to jinx it, but it looks like it comes out the top. Take these push pins out. Take this rad support off. This air duct out. Radiator cooling fan assembly. Well, let's get started. So remove the plastic push pins. There's 5 of them. Pull the centers out. I've already got the tranny cooler lines disconnected because I bypassed it. There's 1 bolt here and 1 bolt in here. And take this air induction duct out. You have to pull it up this way to disengage it from the echo chamber, I guess you'd call that, sound deadening chamber. Comes out of this pipe here, and then wiggle it out of the air induction box. Thought I was going to have to take this air box off, but you don't. Now we're going to disconnect the wiring harness to the fans here, and hopefully be able to take the fan and shroud out. So there are 3 fasteners that hold the hood latch down, one here, and one there that goes to the rad support top. Disconnect the wiring harness from the fan control module, disconnect the 2 horns, and unclip the ambient temp sensor down below. And what the heck is this wire for? That wasn't plugged into anything. Oh yes, it was plugged into the horn. That's a horn connector. There was one wire that wasn't plugged in, this one here. Wonder where that goes. Hood switch. It wasn't plugged in. You can see that. That might be a hood latch switch or something. I didn't see that though. Oh well, we'll figure it out. So the bottom of the rad is in these 2 rubber mounts. You can't see that one on that side, it's over on that side. But I had to pry it up because it's rusty and it's stuck in there. So now I should be able to lift the rad out. Got the lower rad hose disconnected. So to take the top plate off here, there's 1 bolt here at this end and 1 screw through the condenser. It's a Phillips screw, so you'll have to use an angled screwdriver, ratchet. And I'm going to have to unbolt the rad shroud and take it out because on this side here the rad won't come up past the shroud. So there's 2 bolts, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, so I've got to lift it back up. So we ran into a bit of a snafu. After you get the radiator fans out, there is a couple bolts in the bottom of the rad like there was up here. There's 1 in the bottom on each corner that hold the rad to the rad support, and the rad cradle is also holding the condenser in. So unless you evacuate and recharge, which means dealing with those fittings down there, which are not likely going to come apart, you got to get those 2 bolts out. Now I tried turning those bolts with a wrench from the bottom, and it's not happening. I wonder if there's an access hole underneath here. No, there's no access hole. The steel part is spinning in the rad, so I'm gonna contemplate heating this bolt, melting it out of the plastic, because it's just in this plastic. Hey my gosh, should be 5 minutes. So I managed to get it out. I used a magnetic resonance heater to heat the bolt from the bottom here and then melt the plastic in the rad. So I still got to get the nut out of there. This side here I couldn't get at as easily, and I had to pry it out. I'll show you where that is. This is the bottom of the rad here, where that nut is. This one I managed to melt out. So we're going to clean up that housing, that frame, straighten it out. Use a zip cut blade to cut that nut off. So there's one of the bolts out. It looks like it had some kind of a rubber insulator on it. Yeah, I got them out. I think we're going to put a stud in the rad sticking down, so it'd be easier to put a nut from the bottom. Then I got to straighten this ear out. So I'm going to put 2 studs in there. I got about 1 inch below this bracket, so I put this stud in, which bottoms out before it. It'll be easier to start a nut on there. I'm going to put a rubber spacer on here if I've got, yeah, I know I have something. I just got some valve cover grommets in a cylinder head set that I could use. So these will work perfect. These are LS valve cover grommets for the center valve cover bolts. So I'll put those in, a flat washer on the bottom, and then a nut. Should be good to go. So this little screw here that holds the condenser to this upper support, if you slot the hole, you'll find it easier to drop this on and shift it over until it lines up. Never sees on the bolts. Little rad hose is connected. Now we're going to put the cooling fans in. Put some never sees on the bolts as well. So there's the rad back in. Just have to fill the cooling system and double check the transmission fluid. So here's a look at what failed in this rad. The cooler literally broke. It lost the coolant out of here and it lost the tranny fluid out of here. Never seen one fail like that. It's like it pulled right out of the threads. But nevertheless, we managed to save it. Transmission works great. Thanks for watching.